1 year into this war, Putin no longer doubts the strength of our coalition, but he still doubts our conviction. He doubts our staying power. He doubts our continued support for Ukraine. He doubts whether NATO can remain unified. But there should be no doubt. Our support for Ukraine will not waver. NATO will not be divided, and we will not tire. President Putin's craven lust for land and power will fail, and the Ukrainian people's love for their country will prevail. Democracies of the world will stand guard over freedom today, tomorrow, and forever. So that's what's at stake here. Freedom. That's the message I carried to Kyiv yesterday, directly to the people of Ukraine. When President Zelensky said he came to the United States in December, quote, he said, "This struggle will define the world and what our children and grandchildren, how they live, and then their children and grandchildren." He wasn't only speaking about the children and grandchildren of Ukraine. He was speaking about all of our children and grandchildren, yours and mine. We're seeing again today what the people of Poland and the people across Europe saw for decades. Appetites of the autocrat cannot be appeased. They must be opposed. Autocrats only understand one word: no, no, no.
That was Joe Biden speaking in Warsaw, Poland, delivering a decidedly unambiguous message to the world's most dangerous autocrat. And before I do anything else, I want to contrast what Biden just said and the message he delivered in no uncertain terms with what Donald Trump said just one day earlier.
Another example, Putin never, ever would have gone into Ukraine if I were president, never. And I told him, I actually had a very good relationship. By the way, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. You know, these idiots back there would say, he's very close to Putin. Remember when they hit me with the question, who do you trust? Your intelligence people in the United States. They're not intelligent. Your intelligence people. Comey, McCabe, Strzok, Lisa Page. How about Lisa? Or Putin. And I said, that could be the toughest question I've ever been asked as a politician. They wanted me, and then when I really didn't give them a very good answer in terms of exactness, because I didn't want to, because I didn't trust these people. They're bad people. These are bad people. And when I didn't give, all hell broke loose. But that's okay, that's okay. And it turned out I was right. I was right about that too. These people, what they have done to our country with the fake Russia scam, and it's just incredible. But Putin never, ever would have gone into Ukraine.
Pretty amazing contrast between a president who's clear about where he stands on the issue of democracy versus autocracy and a former president who admits that he literally trusts Putin more than our own intelligence agencies. Call me old-fashioned, but I tend to like when presidents of the United States side with the United States. The guy says that the question as to who he trusts more over our own intelligence agencies was the toughest question that he was asked as president. The fact that he thinks deciding between a murderous despot who's currently engaged in a genocide against the Ukrainian people and American intelligence agencies is difficult shows that he's either the easiest mark that Putin has ever laid eyes on or too corrupt to care. But either way, probably not great for our country here. He even whines about the, quote, fake Russia scam. And look, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because his sob story is like 4 years old at this point, and while he doesn't seem to mind repeating the same tired material day after day, it does kind of wear on me. But I will say this, while Donald Trump pretends that the Russia investigation was a witch hunt, remember, that investigation resulted in 34 indictments, including George Papadopoulos, Paul Manafort, Rick Gates, Mike Flynn, Michael Cohen, all of whom themselves pleaded guilty. Consider, too, that based on the Russia investigation, we know about a number of instances of cooperation between the Trump campaign and Russia, like how Paul Manafort shared polling data with the Russians, how Mike Flynn told the Russians that Trump was going to lift sanctions that were put in place after their cyber attack on the U.S. election, like how Donald Trump himself even went on national TV and asked the Russians to hack Hillary Clinton's emails, which they attempted to do that very day. So I get that Trump and his mouthpieces want to pretend that the Russia investigation was a hoax because it exposes so many of them as criminals, but if they were worried about optics, they should have thought about that while they were, coordinating with the Russians. And finally, Trump spends the rest of his time trying to justify his coddling Putin by trying to paint a bunch of law enforcement agents as evil. Here's the thing. What's so telling about Donald Trump's stump speech here is that it betrays just how deep down the rabbit hole he is. I mean, this guy won the presidency in 2016 by running as a populist. He clearly wasn't a real populist since he was only interested in actually helping millionaires and billionaires, but still, he at least knew to market himself as a populist while running. Fast forward now to 2023, and his stump speech is ranting about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. You think any regular families out there who aren't mainlining Tucker Carlson have any fucking clue who these people are? And so all this shows is that Trump has lost the one thing that he had going for him in 2016, which was his ability to connect with regular people. He's just devolved into this perpetual victim whining about aggrievement politics. But hey, what do I know? Maybe real America is just clamoring to get into a voting booth to have their voices heard on the issue of siding with Vladimir Putin over Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. But let's be clear, it's not just Trump who can't hide his disdain for America while gushing over autocrats. The failure to support democracy has effectively pervaded the entire Republican Party, a party that at one time branded itself patriots and constitutionalists. Here's Fox's Peter Doocy struggling to wrap his head around the very concept of applauding democracy.
President Biden disagrees with that, and we expect him to expand on that theme later on today at this speech, which should start in a few minutes. And it's not the solemn set of remarks that we were kind of told to expect based on the existential threats that he sees. It has almost a campaign rally feel, like if they were having a campaign rally for democracy, Harris.
Peter Doocy just explained the concept of a rally for democracy with the same confidence as an 80-year-old explaining Snapchat filters. Like, yeah, dude, it's a rally for democracy. The world is contending with a horrific threat by authoritarian governments. There's a land war in Europe for the first time since the 1940s. We're a democracy, and we are supposed to be on the side of democracies. This shouldn't be confusing, and it certainly shouldn't be controversial. But I guess when you align yourself with a political party that views democracy as antithetical to their entire worldview, then suddenly the concept of a rally for democracy seems foreign to you. The simple fact is this: we have one major political party in this country that does not support democracy. They don't support that system of government because it no longer comports with their sole objective, which is to hold on to power by any means necessary. They don't want people to vote because then they will lose. They don't want districts to be fairly drawn because then they will lose. They don't want the citizens of DC to have statehood because it'll dilute their unfair advantage and they will lose. And so the natural conclusion of that is that they will not only oppose democracy at home, they'll oppose it abroad. They have no more incentive to pretend to defend the Constitution because it doesn't serve them anymore. That's why they're calling for secession. That's why they're staging insurrections. That's why they're siding with autocrats and dictators. So I hope that Americans are paying attention, because it's not just about gas prices and taxes anymore. It is about the foundation of this country and whether we want to be led by those who value democracy or those who want to subject you to their version of the Kremlin right here in the United States. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.